It's Speak It Thursday, and it's your girl Shuli. We are back for another conversation. Thank you all for tuning in. As you have your seats in our virtual audience, go ahead and drop your city. Let us know where you're tuning in from. Get your relationship questions ready. Get your pen and pad. Grab Bay, and let's go ahead and speak it. Our guest tonight, I'm excited. We've had conversations. We've had casual run-ins in the HEB in Houston here. And every time we meet up, it's a deep conversation and it's just so beautiful. We talk about relationships. We talk about life. I met Misha some years ago in a mastermind group and we've stayed in contact. She's just one of those people that every time I see her, she makes me smile. And I think that she is going to make you all smile. As a matter of fact, I know that she will. So without further ado, let's meet Misha Nicole Granado. She is the owner of and certified relationship therapist for Love Grows, the relationship consultant. It's a boutique firm focused on healthy relationships, and we need more of those out here. So go ahead, when she comes in, show her some love, and we're getting ready to speak it.
Yay!
Hi, Misha. Welcome.
Yay, yay, yay. Oh, thank you so much, Julie. Thank you
You're
so much.
welcome.
I've been looking forward to our chats. Thank you so much.
I know we've been trying to make this work, and I feel like this is the perfect time. We need it. We need some love. We need to show love. We need to grow love. So I gave them a little bit of information about you, but can't anybody else tell it like you can tell it? You know you. So we know that you are a certified relationship therapist. So tell us more about how are you making love grow?
Yeah, so just as Shuli said, certified relationship therapist, a behavioral therapist, focusing on wellness in all capacities, specifically in our relationships. And, Shuli, as you know, it's the relationship we have with ourselves that determines and influences all the relationships in our life. So in my private practice, regardless of the relationship dynamic people have, engaged, married, widowed, divorced, I do a lot of work with mothers and daughters. It always starts with the relationship we have with self. And so, yeah.
Well, welcome. And we're excited to talk about that. And I say, let's just jump into it. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I think you're always ready, actually. Like that's just you ooze love and relationships. And one of the things that I can appreciate about you is that you're very consistent and you practice what you preach. So you're not just practicing as a certified therapist, but you're putting these principles in practice in your own life. And one of the things you said, one's relationship with self. So can you talk about the relationship that not the relationship, the conversation we really need to be having about relationship with ourselves right now in this time?
You know what? So all of the relationships in our lives gives us an opportunity to learn more about ourselves. So not just our romantic relationships, but our friendships, our relationships with our family members, with the barista, with our hairstylist, with all of these type of things, because we're interfacing with other humans. And it gives us an opportunity to how do we show up in these spaces when there's conflict, when there's disagreements, when there's heartache, when there's disappointment or misunderstandings. How do we navigate those spaces? And I think, unfortunately, we live in so much this swipe right, swipe left culture that anything, we don't ask questions for clarity. It's like we feel offended, our feelings are hurt, that's it, done, I'm done with the relationship, and we ghost people. And we feel that by ghosting, because I've been offended, that's the best way to move through relationships, but it's quite possible there's a misunderstanding. And so for us to toss away relationships and people, I think it really stunts our ability to grow. It is through navigating these difficult spaces, these challenging spaces, these spaces where there's disagreement or we're not aligned. It gives us a lot of opportunities to grow as individuals, which allows us to continue to progress when we're starting to even look at romantic relationships as well.
Look, I'll drop some comments. So Nehemiah said, hi, Nehemiah, welcome. Come on and bless us, big sis. Drop your questions if you have questions. And then Heather said, hi. So I'll throw that in really quickly because you're already talking to us. So we are in ghosting and cancel culture. And you're so right. People are not really taking the time to navigate those things. So what would you say instead of ghosting? And it's a hard situation, it's conflict, maybe you don't want to hurt the person's feelings, and you really don't have the tools. What do you say?
Now, are we speaking about in a romantic relationship that, like, are we talking about, hey, you met somebody, a meet and greet, and it's like you already know that, hey, I know this isn't a good fit for us? Or are you speaking about maybe a vintage friendship that we've kind of outgrown each other, and now what is our new step going to be?
I like both of those. So let's start with you met somebody, like you said, and it's a meet and greet, and you realized, okay, this is not the person for me, but you've invested a little time in it. Maybe you've had phone conversation, because we're talking communication. This is communication. You've had phone conversation enough to the point where you wanted to meet them. It didn't work out. There was something about them you didn't care for. But
listen,
you ghosted you?
Listen, I can write a book. Let me tell y'all, let me lean in so you can see me. I can write a book on the number of meet and greets I've had during my course of dating before in the beautiful relationship I'm in now with Honey Bunny. But from that, I perfected the art of closing doors, just because I looked at it like I wanted to be clear when we left this space that you knew that I was not an option, right? So I'm grown, right? So I'm not going to avoid calls. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm not going to do any of that, right? Because I feel I would want to be handled the same way. And so for me, have a meet and greet. And for me, I didn't even do we don't even need to do a formal date. Let's do a meet and greet, because one thing that I know is that sometimes people have chemistry, and especially if we're talking about online kind of meeting on these online platforms, which there's nothing wrong with that, ladies and gentlemen, is that sometimes you can have great chemistry and people are really good with the written word. They're really good with maybe phone conversations, but in person, it doesn't translate. Maybe they're socially awkward. Maybe there isn't any chemistry, whatever the case may be. And that's okay, right? But so from there, I, had the meet and greet. And when it was done, I would say, you know what? I mean, it was like a speech. You know what? It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much. But I have to be honest, there's no chemistry here for me. And I know that we're both on here looking for our person. And so I wish you well. I wish you all the best. And when I tell you, I never had anyone kind of like, oh, well, F you in, like any of that type of stuff. It was real. It was always respectful, because I think the gentleman respected that I was honest with them, that it wasn't ghosting or anything like that. And they also knew, and I told them, so I'm going to unmatch. I'm going to delete your number, and I wish you well, because that frees up space for you to find, and for me to find the person that is our person. And so I think that when we're speaking about, we're adults, we're adults, and it is the common courtesy that, we took the time, we've exchanged some energy, we got offline, we met in person. And that is the benefit of meet and greets, right? Because, and I know there's a lot of conversation with women that'll say, don't take me on a meet and greet, take me on a proper date. I want to go to, Vic and Anthony's, or name these places here. I want to go to whatever here. But why? Why? For food? Clearly you can feed yourself, right? So my thing is, looking at that time is one of our most precious resources and commodities we have. And I personally do not want to sit across from somebody for hours or be at events for hours, and it's socially awkward. There's no conversation. There's no chemistry. For food? So if we're in a place that you can't feed yourself, then dating is the least. You don't need to be dating right now. You have to get the basics: food, water, shelter. You need to handle that as an adult. And then I have beautiful men in my life, my brothers, and you think about it. You think about regardless of the price point that a man is in, easily a meet and greet with drinks alone could easily hit $150, especially if you're doing proper old fashions and bourbon and all of that kind of stuff. That's no food, that's just drinks.
That is
And so you think about, so if a guy goes on, like, just say one date a week, one meet or greet a week, like how expensive that gets. And again, this isn't making decisions based on that, but what we're talking about is integrity. We're talking about ethics, right? And so why would you want to spend time with someone who we have to date with a purpose? Now, if you're casually dating and you're not looking to be married or in a long-term relationship and it's just, hey, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either. But why wouldn't you want to spend time with someone who there's a potential that you actually like, right? That can grow from something. Because if not, now you're moving in this kind of manipulating, hustling type of, let me try to get, and then you're perplexed at why you're having the outcomes you're having, because it's based on the energy and the intention in which you're going out dating. That's your intention.
Whew. Intention, integrity, like you said, you've said so many things. Heather said, I love the idea of a meet and greet rather than a date. You can save a lot of time and feelings that way. And that makes
me,
oh, my gosh. So then in this stage, or where we are during this time, what would you say? How do you stage dating? Like you said, the meet and greet. I do like that idea too, because it's a preliminary. We don't go together. We don't meet and we chat and we suddenly go together. What would you say is a good way to stage the progression? So meet and greet, then this, then what does that look like ideally if things are growing in a healthy way?
Right. So ideally, it's like, so here's one thing that we know for certain. And then I think so so let's back up. So we often hear that if a man is interested, you will know. He would make it clear. Yes, absolutely. Right. But I think we need to scale it back. And let's talk about the online platforms, right? When you meet somebody on the online platform, the initial meet and greet, right? You swipe right, it's click, boom, hey, we're a match, whatever. From that point there, there's still now, it's a rapport building from there, because the gentlemen, y'all are just swiping based on what y'all wrote on the profile, pictures. Hey, I'm intrigued. Let me find out more about them. How do we find out more about them? Is through conversation, right? And so that's conversation on the platform. It might be video chats on the platform, phone chats on the platform. That goes off to a regular phone conversation, whatever the case may be. From there, it's like, then both of you all have the opportunity to decide, like, is the conversation intriguing and engaging enough that I want to continue? I want to get offline and meet the person, that type of thing, right? You'll know a lot as far as even with the guy. What is this conversation about? Like, what is he asking? If it's all like, what that mouth do? Like, I don't... delete. You don't need to meet. You don't need to get offline to meet this gentleman if that's not what you're interested in. So it's very important to be very clear what you're interested in. And then from there, I like to do meet and greets. When I was doing the dating thing, I like to do meet and greets during the day while the sun is still up. We can meet at the park, we can meet at a coffee shop, we can meet at any, because here's the thing about it. Is if chemistry and connections there, it's going to organically grow there. Y'all are going to look up, hours have went by, and inevitably somebody's going to say, hey, you want to go get something to eat? Let's go check this out. And that is a better place to be than this 5-star restaurant, this movie and a show, this helicopter ride across the city, and to be trapped for 6 to 8 hours with somebody that you do not like. And that is socially awkward. And there's no conversation, and it's weird. It smells funny.
It could be anything. Oh my gosh, it could be anything. As you say that, I'm in my head. So with that said, a real quick aside, we were talking offline about crazy dating experiences. Tell me about, before you found Bay, you've dated. So I know it's one thing to go by the textbook and all of this, but for a fact, we know that you have lived this experience.
Yeah.
Tell me what your lived experience has taught you, or vice versa, what your professional experience has taught you as you have cultivated your love, because you and Bay, you said, are going on how many years? 2 years?
2, yeah,
Yeah.
honey bunny. So yeah, so the thing is, and I think it's also important, right, is that you can be very clear, and the way that you communicate, the way that you show up, and then the person that you meet in person is very different than their profile. There was this one, I was talking to Shuli offline, and it was this, I remember going on a meet and greet with this one gentleman, and I show up at the venue, I'm on the phone, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be at the bar. There's nobody at the venue. So I mean, it's because it's a date, you know how I do, it's the daytime. And so there was like 2 people at the bar, right? And so I'm like, oh no, I don't see you. He's like, oh yeah, a good 150 pounds heavier than his picture, with the athletic breakout shorts, like a pickup game was about to start. And not only that, then wanted to tell me how he's not married, but there's a wife, and she traveled, like it was just very, yeah. So clearly from there I was like, you know what, thank you for coming out. This is not going to work for me, because even though you and your wife, baby mama, woman, y'all have an agreement, that's not an agreement I am interested in. I understand everybody has multiple, there's different realities, there's different norms, but that one wasn't mine. There was a gentleman who I was convinced had on a beard like he was in disguise. Sir, is that a real beard?
A snap-on beard?
Who are you hiding from? Is it a wife? Are you on the run from the law, sir? Are there shooters and hitters after you? Am I in danger? You know, but then there were other ones. There were other ones that, even though it wasn't a romantic connection, the exchange was nice, and you know, the conversation, or I may have been exposed to thoughts or perspectives that I hadn't known before, that I was like, you know what, this is something that I do enjoy. I haven't been exposed to it, but you know what? I like the way that this expands my mind or my heart. So you know what, this is a quality that I'll look for as I continue moving on with my, journey.
I love it. And now do you believe in manifestation? There's a lot of talk about manifesting love, and you talk about growing love. Is there a difference?
No, I would say no. I would say no. I would say, just because it's what we focus on, right? Manifestation is that, it's the focusing on and putting energy towards what we want to grow, what we want to appear. And growing love is the same thing. It's like a garden. It's giving that attention to cultivating and nurturing the soil, the seeds, all of that type of stuff, with the intention of growing something beautiful. Everybody who gardens is very clear that they want to grow something beautiful. And they're also very clear on what they want to grow, what type of plants they want to grow, right? So no, I think that they're very similar.
Okay. And so as we talk about that and cultivating and manifesting, and you have this intention, because you said that you have a clear intention, to grow something that's very beautiful. Now, does that look like a list? Does that look like a prayer? What does that look like?
So, you know what, it's so interesting. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way, right? Because there are people who are very like, hey, list it out, and you hear their love story and they'll tell you that, like, hey, my partner is everything on my list and more, or whatever the case is, right? I think that it's more about, again, going back to how I said that all of our relationships are opportunities for us to learn more about ourselves. And I think that, we live in a society that there's so much focus on the external. I want a guy this height, this skin color, this tax bracket, this fashion sense, this industry, these organizations. But when you think about what it is, the qualities and characteristics that expand your mind, your heart, your happiness, your joy, your wellness, Are those the things that contribute to it, right? Or are there other qualities and characteristics that in your dating life or even in your friendships, right? Because when we have very healthy, beautiful friendships, a lot of those qualities are the same qualities that help foster, cultivate, and nurture beautiful romantic spaces. Respect. You think about your friendships that you have, oftentimes, if it's a healthy friendship, there's a respective person. You guys don't try to micromanage each other. You don't try to convince, convert, or condemn the other person. You give them space to be their authentic self, right? That is such an integral part of romantic relationships as well, because we are partners. We are, your man is not your child. You're not the boss of him. You don't dictate what he does, and especially if he's a man, and especially if he's a boss, like that doesn't happen, but when we're talking about respect, the way that you guys cultivate what y'all's norm is, that's going to be there. You don't have to try to, because what's happened is you previously had dated individuals who didn't respect you. They didn't respect the boundaries. You guys didn't have similar boundaries and norms and those type of things. And so you felt you were in this micromanaging. No, you can't hang out with the guys who are single. You can't go to these venues. You can't go out after night, as if infidelity only happens in these pockets. Most infidelity happens during business hours and people are at home for dinner. Right? So when we're talking about qualities and characteristics. When you date a person who has integrity, right? And integrity is that they are who they are, whether someone is watching or not. So when you partner with someone who has integrity and lives their life a certain way, you don't have to micromanage or police them, because that's who they are. With or without you, before and after you, this is who I am. And so if that's important to you, that's something you put on your list. I desire a partner with integrity. I desire a partner who respects our relationship, who respects and practices monogamy, who respects and practices honesty. That's something you can put on a list, right? And so when we're talking about looking at our historical markers and what we have learned, look at your relationships. You're your own case study. Look at your relationships and identify the qualities, the pros and the cons, the ones that expanded or constricted your happiness, your wellness, your mind, your heart. Write those down for each person. Boyfriend, person, gentleman, A through Z, however long your list is. Make that list for each one. Start to see if you see any patterns, right? Because you are the one choosing these individuals. And so if you start to notice a pattern, it comes back to you. Why am I attracted to men who have these qualities, right? And so then that's when a therapist comes in to help you kind of unpack, where did that come from? And, and the thing is that sometimes people will say, and I've seen the post, like, you don't have to be, 100% healthy and healed to have love. You're absolutely right. But the correlation between doing the work to heal the emotional wounds and anything that is serving as a barrier between you and love is that as you heal, as you remove that muck, what you're interested in, your tolerance, all of that changes. So that's the correlation between healing and healthy relationships. Because as you heal, there's certain tolerances and boundaries and things that you will no longer accept. You will no longer participate. You will no longer, and the thing about it is, once you start to identify, going back to the activities of writing down and seeing what the patterns are, you'll also start to see how you are an active participant in your own heartbreak based on the choices that you make. This is why healing is so integral to the quality of our relationships.
I'm still stuck on, you are an active participant.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah. And it's easy to point the finger at the other person like, oh my gosh, they did this, they did that. But like you said, you talked about historical markers. You said so much where I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope y'all are writing this down. Do you have a notepad? Because you are giving some really good information, the tools that will help people heal. I'm a side person. I'm like working on being silent and letting.
No, you don't have to be silent. No, you be authentic. You let it. I want to see all of it. Whatever's authentic, truly, that's what you do.
Yeah, letting the conversation flow because I want the people to hear it. And I'm just like, I just need to let you flow. But I'm over here like, yes, because I'm a yes kind of person. But oh my gosh, you're dropping so much information to us. And
let me do a caveat here because I feel it in my spirit. Somebody needs to hear it. So the thing about it is like, I understand that there's a lot of things that are popular. We got WAP, we got strong knees, we got all of this stuff.
We're strong beings.
Strong knees.
Oh, strong
knees. and listen, and there's nothing wrong with popular culture and music and entertainment and all of those type of things. But this is why it's important for you to know what works for you. So regardless of what is in popular media and what's being projected on screens and things like that, if you know that you cannot have recreational sex because you get emotionally attached and things like that, then why are you having recreational casual sex? Like, if you know that you want to be in a committed monogamous relationship, why are you engaging in committed monogamous relationship behavior without the commitment? When a gentleman has said that I am not interested in a relationship right now, it doesn't matter if it's with you, it doesn't matter if it's in person, doesn't matter if his heart was broken in kindergarten back then, doesn't matter if he doesn't trust women, he's trying to get his career together. He has been honest and said, I am not ready or do not want a relationship now. And when I talk about you contributing to your own heartbreak, is that you stay, because in your mind you think like, well, if I stay around and I do all of the wife duties and the girlfriend duties, he's going to see how cool I am and he's going to change his mind. To use an analogy, when Babe and I were purchasing our house, we don't have children and we don't plan on having children. So school districts are not important to us. So it doesn't matter if we're not looking for school districts or looking for a community that is family friendly with children. It doesn't matter how great this neighborhood is and all of these family friendly things, because that's not what we're looking for. If I'm not looking for a wife, if I'm not looking for a committed relationship, it doesn't matter how many wife qualities you have, because I'm not in the market for a wife or a girlfriend. So you can't convince me of that. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is you stay, you get frustrated, you start to have resentment, and you blame him. Well, why are you here? Well, why not? You made it comfortable. I would be there too. You're cooking, you know, I get all the sex I want, you give me all the gifts, you give me all this kind of stuff. I enjoy your company.
Yeah. We're traveling.
We're traveling, you know, but I told you. And the thing is as an adult, autonomous woman in person, it is your response, because now he's looking at it like, well, I told you and you're still rocking with it, so obviously she's cool with it. And so what happens is you stay there, you play therapist, you help him, you know, navigate, you help grow his business, you do all that kind of stuff. And what happens is then he meets her. Right? Because now he's ready for a relationship. But then also in his mind, he's thinking like, man, well, I don't know. I've kind of low-key lost some respect for her, because I've told her on numerous occasions that I'm not interested, but she's still here. So maybe she doesn't value herself that much. That's not an attractive quality for me, not for my wife or the mother of my children. And so now you in my therapist's office on the couch crying, talking about men aren't this and that. No. He was honest, but you didn't believe him. You thought you could change his mind. You thought your sex tricks were going to change his mind.
The knees and the WAP, like you said. The knees and the WAP.
And the thing is, and I polled men. And you remember I had my podcast. I had a podcast and I had gentlemen, the panel discussion, you know, and ask the men, ladies who are on here, ask the men who are in your life, brothers, uncles, great platonic homeboys who will be honest with you, and ask them, Has there ever been a time where you knew you did not want to be in a relationship for whatever reason, and a woman was able to change your mind through sex or by hanging around? Ask the men who will be honest with you. Because trust, there's women whose sex is much better than yours because they're professionals. That's their job.
Yeah.
Right?
India Dion said that's a word. That's my sissy. Hey, sissy. And Robin gave
Hi,
the heart.
sissy.
Yeah. And then Heather dropped a comment earlier when you were talking about it smells funny. I'm just like, we're gonna let that sink in, and I'm gonna read a comment, well, a post from Dope Brown Chick posted this on her Instagram this week sometime. It was a repost, but it's basically speaking to what you're saying. But here's the scenario. There's Instagram. Well, this was from Twitter. She said, my new kink is legitimately asking men who want sex with no strings, courtship, or commitment why they don't just hire sex workers and watching them explode with anger. Transactional sex should be transactional. There are professionals literally trained to provide this service. And then she went on to say, men will chase a woman who they know want a commitment, and she capitalized no, who no want a commitment, and then call her crazy for expecting a commitment. Too many men enjoy the thrill of being manipulative. And then she says, back to say that the point of this tweet was to comment on how we teach men and women that sex should be coercive / manipulative. Many women don't hire many men won't hire sex workers and often won't date autonomous women who want transactional sex. They chase women who want commitment. It's predatory. Can we unpack this? It's a lot.
I mean, she said a lot. I think there's so many things, layers there. I think, of course, the lack of integrity. I think when we're also talking about the way that both boys and girls are socialized in our, I can only speak of our society. I'm sure it may even similar in other societies and cultures, is that, you know, we raise our girls with this very chastity, purity, you know, not until marriage, our princess and things like that. But our little boys are like, you know, spread it wild, you know, he's 3, oh, he's gonna be a lady killer, like, oh, this and that, how many girlfriends do you have? And so the way that we're socialized is very different, and we're perplexed that when we show up as adults, how we have so much conflict and issues in trying to partner because we've had 2 totally different rearing experiences. I think that the way that sex in our society is viewed as well, in terms of sex workers and all of that, because you're right, there's an entire industry from dancers, escorts, you know, whatever price range you want, all of those type of things, who are available for that. So I think that, you know, one, I don't like to speak in generalizations, right? I really like to take on a case-by-case basis. And so then you have men who have their own emotional wounds, you know, their own emotional wounds that they've had in relationships or in life, or just all of those other things. So there's so many things that contribute to why an individual chooses what they choose, right? But for me, I don't like to focus on that. We focus on you. Don't matter what they're doing and things like that. This is why it's important for you to do the healing so you can be clear. You know, so a guy who's pursuing for sex, if you know that I am interested in monogamous long-term relationship towards marriage, you move differently. You focus on developing a friendship first. And I think that's something that's really missing in today's society, is developing friendships. You know, and the problem that I see with a lot of people is because you have partnered with strangers. Y'all don't know each other. And you're wondering why you have the conflict. Y'all are not friends. Y'all have connected because, you know, we're attracted to each other. We look good on paper. We're in these organizations. We're in this tax bracket. We look good. Our babies will be pretty. Our parents are from this and that. But y'all haven't taken the time to cultivate a friendship. And what's interesting is when you ask people, like, you know, there might be a man and woman who are platonic friends, and, you know, is that you ask them, like, hey, how come y'all are dating? Y'all look like y'all are friends. And there's always someone, I don't want to ruin the friendship. So my question always to that is, what do you do in romantic relationships that you feel would ruin a friendship, that's where you start, right? Whatever that behavior is that you feel would ruin a friendship, that is a beautiful starting point there. Because when you partner with your friends, again, the things that we mentioned earlier, the respect, the integrity, the ethics, you handle each other differently. Strangers, you can treat strangers any kind of way. Like, you know, like, I don't know this mofo. Like, I'm ready, I'm out. You know, but when you start to talk about friendship, because from there, that's the foundation in which we're building this house, this house, which is our relationship, which is our life, you know?
Woo, woo, child. Woo. Yes, 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 and
Yeah.
yes, and yes,
Yeah.
yes. And as we work towards healing us, do you see some things that other things that are going on in society? I don't even like to mention, there's some men who are saying that they are relationship specialists and things like that. We don't necessarily have to get into all of that, but
Mm-hmm.
what is the danger in so many people standing in as relationship specialists who don't necessarily have
Yeah.
the professional training? Do you feel like that
Mm-hmm.
works against us trying to grow together as men and women, trying to love one another, or whoever you choose to love?
Sure, sure. You know what? I think what contributes to that is the fact that everyone's looking for the quick fix, right? And and the truth is, healing isn't a quick fix. It's not a fast five. It's not do these five things. It's not listen to this podcast or follow this person. This is getting with someone who is trained and you helping you to do the work. Because you have to think about it. The things that are our norms and that's our default is because we've been doing it for so long. We've been doing it for 20, 30 years, right? So these things aren't going to change overnight. You have to identify what the issue is. You have to identify the pattern, and then you have to implement something new. And you have to choose the new thing every time because our default is just going to be there, right? Oh, I'm ready to go up, right? But to be able to use the tools and to choose a different response, right? That takes time. So I think that with everyone wanting this quick fix, like, oh, I want to lose weight, I want to tone up, let me saran wrap and put this lotion on while I haven't changed my eating habits, I'm not working out, I'm not drinking water, I haven't done my own blood work to kind of know what's going on with me level wise. And that I think opens up the space for others to step in because people want that. They want the quick or they want the thing of, oh, there's no accountability on me. It's them. It's their people. It's not us. I need to. No, no. It's you are the common denominator in all of your relationships. So the way that you invest in your beautician and you have a cultivated, established relationship, you don't let nobody else touch your hair, your nail tech, your dentist, your makeup artist, your whatever, it's the same as a therapist is just simply a part of your wellness team, right? And it is a better investment of your time, your energy, your resources to get with someone who is dedicated to you, that hour in time is just for you, right? Not somebody on a platform who's just, I'm trying to get likes and monetization and all of those type of things, right? I'm invested in your wellness. And so it's not until we decide to make our wellness a priority, we will continue to gravitate towards these other things. And then just by observing, you have to implement things as well. You can read all of the books and watch all the podcasts and follow all of the great people. And there's so many great people out there, right? People who are experts in what they do, but you have to implement them. You have to try them, come back. Okay, that didn't work. You know what? I tweaked it this way. What are your thoughts? Having that therapist to help you navigate it. And then from there, you build the confidence like, okay, I can do this. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it is. And in my practice, I don't like to, because there's so much noise. There's so much noise around that can distract us. And so yes, there's a lot of different realities and a lot of different paths that people go. But my concern is, what about you? What path are you on? What are your goals? What are you focused on in terms of being able to manifest, grow, cultivate, nurture these healthy relationships, love, wellness in your life? It is not, it's not a one size that fits all, right? It's not even tailored where it's like, okay, let me take this off and kind of, and depending on where it is, depending on where you are in your journey, there is some things that, you know, your therapist is like, okay, this is something, it's tailored, but let me take this off the rack and let's fit it to Shuli. And then
Mhm.
there's some other issues that it's bespoke. Like, you know what, this is something we need to design specifically for you, right? And this is the benefit of having your therapist to help you navigate that space.
That's good. Like you said, it's just a trusted professional to help you navigate is so key. And
Yeah,
sometimes we wait until we're already in the thick of things, and there have been signs that we probably could have talked to someone, should have talked to
sure.
someone, and we, like you said, we get into all the things that you said. We read the books, we listen to the podcast. Some people from a faith-based perspective, they feel like I'm going to give it to God. They're going to do all of these
Mhm.
things. And I do feel like, yeah, that can hinder the progress. So when we talk about relationships and you find yourself, you're already partnered with someone and you
Yeah,
realize, oh my gosh, there's so much work that I didn't do, meaning I
right.
don't love myself the way I should. And I am in this situation that is very unhealthy. How do you
Hmm.
how do you start to change that? How do you pick it up? You feel like the relationship is worth saving. I don't necessarily feel like I want to walk away, but I feel like I
Hmm.
need to work on me. How do you
Right.
start that process?
Yeah, so that's the first thing, is having the awareness of it. That's the first step, right? Because as you think about it, there's a time that we just kind of live and it's normal, and it's not even a thought that there's something different or
Mhm.
something's wrong, right? And then, like you said, there becomes a point where you're like, hey, you know, I've grown, or I've experienced some things, or I've evolved a little bit and had some life experiences or whatever. And you know what? There's something else that exists, or you know what, this used to fit but it's not fitting anymore because, you know, my perspective or my thoughts or just all of those things have changed. So I think the first thing is that awareness. When we're talking about being in partnerships, and especially partnerships that may start to break down, right, and it's a point of, you know, do we want to stay together or not? One thing with that is that both parties have to be willing to explore that, right? There's some people who check out of a relationship for various reasons, and they're no longer open to wanting to resolve the issue with you. And for me, again, with respect being such a big component of relationships, it is to respect that person's choice, even though it's not what you want, even though it's heartbreaking. But what's more heartbreaking is for you to beg, plead for somebody to stay with you who does not want to be with you for whatever reasons. Whatever those reasons may be, the only thing that matters is that they no longer want to be in this space. And so now the question becomes to you is that, why would you want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with you? Yes, it's heartbroken, especially if there's children involved, we have assets involved, our families are integrated and all of that. Yes, we shared life together. Yes, there's heartbreak and there's going to be process to mourn the life that you had, the vision that you had for that. But the thing is there's healing on the other side of that. And there's love. You will love again. You will love again if you're willing to do the work to heal that space, heal yourself, do the work. And then from there again, because what we said is when you heal, your interest, your what you're attracted to, all of that changes as well. So that's the first thing, is the awareness. Then from there is to actually take the next step to identify a therapist that you want to work with, then to actually follow up and attend the appointments, and then from there is to actually do the work and the assignments and to show up again and again and again, right? So it is. So all of this is a choice. You have the ability to make the choice.
Yes. Allison says, don't be with anyone who doesn't want to be with you.
Yeah. But why? And this is the thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that think about it. Like, what are you saying about yourself when you're saying that you want to be with someone who doesn't want to be with you? Like, what does that say about you? It says that you don't think you're worthy to be with someone who wants to be with you. You don't feel that you're worthy or you deserve a partner who loves you and respects you and lights up when they see you and expands your happiness and your joy, and it supports your dreams, and you do that for them. And so that again is a starting point.
Yeah.
Where did you get that belief from? Where did that come from?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is, like you said, that can be some very uncomfortable work, but it will lead it'll lead you to joy ultimately, because you'll find yourself walking out of situations that don't serve you.
Yeah.
Alice Marie says, know your worth. She is tuning in and loving the conversation. She says, I've been here. Right. You have to recognize it. And I think sometimes too, it's easy to fool yourself, if you will, into staying because the person hasn't verbalized that they don't want to be there. So can you talk a little bit about, I mean, to make it clear and in your face, so that way you're taking those blinders off. You know that a person doesn't want to be in the relationship, or they don't feel the same way if they're doing or not doing. So can you put out just give us a few things?
I mean, the thing is that we know, right? You feel it.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's one of the things, especially in my practice with Love Grows, is getting people back connected to themselves. We talk about the gut. We feel it. Something don't feel right. We feel it in our gut. We say these type of things.
I knew it.
Yeah, I knew it. That just the energy and just, all of these things that we say, but what we're speaking of is our intuition, right? And a lot of times we have been disconnected from our intuition. Oftentimes it happens in childhood, where we have learned not to trust ourselves. And so we navigate through the world looking for external variables and often what we're doing is we're looking for an external entity to discredit what we know, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we're looking for. Spirit that wakes you up at 3:00 in the morning and you had a vivid dream, play by play, the girl's name, her address, you see the license plate number, you see all this, you're praying to God, show me a sign. God done showed you all the signs. Lord, Lord, I don't, and then you want to ask him, are you cheating with the girl with the license plate 64538 who lives at this, and you throw all this information. No, you're crazy. You're paranoid. What's wrong with you, right? And so the thing is, but you know it. Now, there is a distinction, and this is why a therapist is important, because you have to identify, do you have trust issues, general, full stop, or do I not trust you? That's two very different things at play. Now, if you're somebody who you just don't trust, you can't trust no man, ain't no man, then that's a you problem, right? Let's seek out a therapist. And why do you feel this way? Because that's not true. All men aren't not trustworthy, right? That's incorrect. Now, if you don't feel that way with every man you date or in a relationship, but with this one, you do, then this is person specific, right? And you explore that as well. Yeah.
Trust
I answered the question. I feel like I went off on a tangent.
No. This is good stuff. So you're saying trust your gut, then also know you, because if you do have trust issues, it's real. And also check your belief systems, because if all your communication in your mind that you're not thinking about, self-talk, we can talk about that for a minute too.
Absolutely.
All men are dogs. You said that, like, you didn't say those words, but if you really are out here believing that all men are dogs or they can't be faithful, then that's playing in your mind no matter what. So before we get ready to wrap up, talk about the importance of Yeah, self-talk when you're cultivating love
Yeah.
within, inside and out.
You know what? So I like to use the example of working out, right? So I'll do these things. I'll go full fledged, like I am training for a marathon, training for what do you call it? The fit games and things like that. I go hard. I'm like 5:45 in the morning. I'm working out 5 days a week. I'm straight, all of these type of things. And so in some of those type of things, some of those activities, I will encounter an activity that I'm not strong at, right? Like I'm not good at. And in those times that I'm frustrated and things like that, the way that I speak to myself is like, you know what, bud, you're doing good. You've never done this before. This is something new. Be gentle with yourself. Okay, you got that rep up. Good job. Like this is the way I speak to myself.
Girl,
in
you're
that,
doing
and
a good job, girl. You're doing
you
a
you doing a good job, and so it is getting to the point of speaking to ourselves the same way that you would speak to a child,
yeah.
right? A child who's learning how to walk, that same way that you would speak to them and encourage them, that is the way that we speak to ourselves as well. I think a lot of times we're so hard on ourselves, right? But life is on the job training. Yes, we have been on this earth, how many ever age years you are. We've seen so many Thursdays, but this is the first and last Thursday, August. Look, I'm in October. August, what's today's date? 26,
Yeah.
2021. This is the first and the last day that we will ever live this day, right? And so it's being gentle with ourselves, showing up. And that's the place that you start from, starting from a place of grace, of gratitude, of patience, of kindness. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know how to do it all. You don't have to do everything perfect. But when you operate from a space of kindness and grace and gentleness, it allows us to move differently. It allows us to flow. And I think also is for us to let go of the notion that things are supposed to be easy, that you're supposed to be an expert after encountering or doing something one time. That's not how it works,
Yeah.
right? So we have to let go of these unrealistic expectations. We have to stop looking at people online and the snippets and the very curated life that they give on social media and compare ourselves to that. You are you. That's it. You are the only you. And that is a superpower that's unique. And you start to cultivate that relationship with yourself.
And woosah. We take it in. Show yourself some grace and some love and kindness. How can people find
Kindness.
you?
Yay! So on Instagram, I'm mostly on Instagram. I mean, I'm on Facebook sometimes, but mostly on Instagram. It's Love Grows. That's right there on there. Love Grows underscore Misha, my first name. You see it right there. So Love Grows underscore Misha. They're on Instagram, and then from there, when you go in the link in my bio, it will take you to all the other platforms and how you can schedule a complimentary call with me, a complimentary session. We can go from there. I focus on all relationship dynamics. So, regardless of your relationship status, single, married, divorced, widowed, a lot of work with mothers and daughters. I take my daughters as young as 12. And yeah, so that's where you can find me. Of course, I'm open for speaking and all these kind of speaking love into existence, bringing love into existence, writing love into existence, all of that good stuff.
All the things. And your content on Instagram is so yummy. It's so good. There's the
Thanks.
one post about social media, um,
Hmm.
about I guess the role that it plays in relationships and things that should not go on social media. Talk about that
Yeah,
real quick. That was a good one,
yeah,
especially as it relates
yeah.
to relationships.
I think that's the one you're referring to. Is if you don't want public commentary, keep it private.
That part.
And and so of course, it's there. I know everybody views things differently. And the beautiful thing is that you can run your life and your relationship any way that you want to. I think it's important that both parties are on the same page. So if you have a partner who does not want all of their business online, that you have to respect that as well. Right. There's other couples that they are social media couples. So they have accounts, that's their thing. And if that's their thing, there's nothing wrong with it. But I am of the, like how Badu says, the analog girl in a digital world, and very vintage. I find beauty in the sacredness of that. Access is a privilege. Like, why are you so accessible? And I wrote a post. I was in a conversation recently, and I used the analogy of these lounges in airports, right? The Amex lounge and these other different lounges, that
The
it's
nice ones. The nice.
exactly that access is a privilege, right? So everybody traveling in the airport can't just hop into the Amex lounge and let me eat all the yummy snacks, let me lounge on the cool stuff, let me do all this kind of stuff. No, you have to be in relationship with American to be able to have access to their resources, to have access to their space. If we're in a committed, monogamous, romantic relationship, if we're married, outsiders, you don't have access to our marriage. You don't have access to our relationship. Now, we will choose and curate what we share because we love each other. And with that, you want to share that love. I mean, you enjoy it and you're just like, look at us. I love him so much. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that there's bringing it back, because we live in this world that everything is just this voyeuristic type of life, is that there's something beautiful in the fact that, the people who are invested in our wellness, who know us personally, who support our relationship, who are really our friends, who value who we are in our real life offline, that's who has access to us. And still with that, you don't have access to the intimate details. I will never badmouth my significant other to my mother, to friends, to anything like that. Like, you don't get access to that information. The reason that I have access to it is because I'm in this sacred space with him, and based on relationship and proximity, I have access to that information. You're not in relationship with him. You don't have access to that that information. And this goes back to the importance of being friends and cultivating from there, because if we have challenges, I speak to him about it. We have a friendship that we're able to, and we don't agree on everything. There are things that's like, I don't agree with that, but it doesn't get disrespectful. It doesn't get demeaning. It doesn't get any of those things. We can have a proper conversation. It's like, okay, so what are we going to create that works for this, for this situation?
Or as they say in the hood, our business ain't show business.
It ain't show business. And it ain't your business.
And it ain't.
and the thing is that I also know that there are things that happen in relationships that you will need a third party. But from that, my recommendation is always to go to a therapist. Find a therapist that both parties feel comfortable with, not just you as the woman that, I feel this is the one I want to go with. It's important that your significant other also has a say in the therapist you guys go with, because from there, to have an objective third party to help you guys navigate some challenges in your relationships where you guys may not have the tools. It may be a topic that we can't have a discussion to talk about it because we really are at odds and we really don't know how to find a common ground here. From there, seek a therapist that will help you. And the beauty of that is it keeps the information in-house with the therapist. It puts you with somebody who has the tools to help you navigate it. Because the thing about it is when we're frustrated and we vent to girlfriends or we vent to our moms, many times, I would like to say 9 times out of 10, you don't go back to give them an update. You don't go back to say, you know what, actually, I was wrong. I misunderstood. Actually, he came and we were able to work out. You just leave it there. And so they don't hear about it again till you come back with another gripe. and another gripe. And so from there, what happens in their mind, they have a very skewed picture of your partner because all you do is dump the negative. And you don't go with that same energy. You know what? I jumped to conclusions. I made this. I cursed them out. I did this. I locked them out the house. You don't say any of that. I started it. I chose violence.
Yes.
So that's and what happens, and then it gets to the point that your family's just like looking at you side eye, like, well, why are you in a relationship with this horrible person?
Yes.
What's going on with your decision making? Right. So that's the benefit of having a therapist. It keeps your family out the business. You get someone who is professional, who has the skill to help you navigate that space, and that is very tailored to y'all's relationship. It's not a one size fits all. It is customized to your relationship.
Yes.
And you're worthy of that.
Love grows. Love grows. Yes. India Dion says, I love it. And Allison Marie says, rich dialogue. I can't even get my words out. Rich dialogue. Love this. Me too. And I already knew it's going to be good stuff. Misha Granado, Love Grows, the relationship consultant. She has been here. She's helped us grow love. It's about the inside out. You've given us so much information. Go back, watch this episode, share this episode. It's available on YouTube, youtube.com/Shuli Gibson. And if you know someone who just needs to hear a little something and to have a little grace, and you've been sharing some information and this is confirmation, tune in, watch it with the notebook, and catch her on Instagram. She has more information. And what I love about your posts, you don't just give the tips, like you break it down and you have dialogue and you have the information that's there. You always provide rich information. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for this exchange, and in the West African term, ashe, which means to speak into existence. We have the power to speak it into existence. Like you said, we're worthy of love. We are worthy of all of the goodness, of the blessings and the bliss that life has to offer. And I thank you for this conversation. And I pray for you all that you've heard something that was a seed that will grow and you will cultivate love in your life. So thank you all for tuning in. Have a good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shuli. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.